Hello, my name is Daryl Wildberg, and I am a Jehovah's Witness in good standing. I have to notify you that this video is not sanctioned by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York. It's not sanctioned by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. It's not sanctioned by those 11 faithful, wonderful, loving, dear men who take the lead over the Jehovah's Witnesses located there in Warwick, New York. They're called the governing body of the faithful and discreet slave. It's not approved by any local body of elders. You see, I don't work for the elders. I don't work for the faithful and discreet slave, the governing body, and I don't work for the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, New York or Pennsylvania. No, you see, all 9 million Jehovah's Witnesses work for Jesus Christ. And if you want scriptural reference to that, it's found in Matthew 23:10. It's interesting. Today, some of you requested a more direct approach on the issue of the New York State Trooper, Ethan C. Koss, conspiring with Richard Castellane, Andrew Catello, Diane Button, Norman Button, to commit a crime. Let's take a look at the statute first. The statute is found in New York, initials CPL, blank, initials RPAPL, and then section 768. You can look this up on the internet if you prefer. But in section 768.1, there's parentheses 1, it provides in part that landlords who use illegal methods to force a tenant to move or attempt to force the tenant to move are subject to both criminal and civil penalties. As a last resort, the tenant may be entitled to be restored to occupancy. Of course, that's not going to happen in my case because Castellane is dead and his property is all in probate. New York CPL RPAPL section 768.1 at A and double I, as parentheses A and parentheses double I, provides this: it shall be unlawful for any person, now that any person includes cops, engaging in a course of conduct, engaging in any course of conduct which interferes with or is intended to interfere with or disturb the comfort, repose, peace, quiet of such occupant in the use or occupancy of the dwelling unit. Now let me make that in oversimplified terms. They can't shut off any of your utilities. They can't block your apartment. They can't change the locks of your apartment. There's a procedure that they have to go through, and that procedure is they have to get a judge. So they can't do any of these things to induce the occupant to vacate the dwelling unit, including but not limited to the interruption or discontinuance of essential services. Now, New York CPLS or CPS RPAPL section 768 parentheses 2A provides that any person, now let's look what the law says, any person who intentionally violates or assists in the violation of any of the provisions of section 768 shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Now each such violation shall be a separate, distinct offense. Notice that engaging in a course of conduct which interferes with or is intended to interfere with or disturb the comfort, repose, peace, and quiet of such occupant in the use or occupancy of the dwelling unit, to induce the occupant to vacate. Now this is what they wanted. They wanted me out of there. But I had a contract, I had a verbal contract with Richard, and I was going to hold him to that contract. And it's not limited to the interruption or discontinuance of essential services. It's not limited to that. It doesn't have to be an essential service like electric, water, or heat, or air, AC. it could be something as minute as internet. Now, keep in mind that at this time in March of 2022, the internet was essential to service because of the COVID. We were coming down from the COVID, but we were still instructed to avoid crowds. So we had Zoom, we had internet Zoom meetings for Jehovah's Witnesses on Zoom, and we were still, I was using it for ordering groceries, for medicines, and to practice my religion. And they cut me off. Now the statute goes on to provide that any person, okay, again, any person, this includes cops, folks, it also includes judges, lawyers, any person who intentionally violates or assists in the violation of any of the provisions of Section 768 shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Any person. It's not limited to any citizen, any landlord, any cop, any judge, any lawyer. Anybody. Let's watch the video proof to ascertain whether Trooper Ethan C. Koss committed the violation listed in Section 7682. Now it's found at timestamp 20, 30, and 33, but I put the excerpt here for you. Now notice that Trooper Koss instructs the witnesses to cut off my internet. He commits a Class A misdemeanor. His exact words: it is best to cut me out of it then. In other words, disconnect his internet. You committed a misdemeanor. And this isn't the only misdemeanor you committed. You committed another misdemeanor when you arrested me for removing that plank outside my apartment, in the path of my apartment. But we'll get into that in a minute. You see, Trooper Koss is between a rock and a hard place. He committed a crime before arresting me for committing a crime. How ironic for him. Now some may believe, well, Trooper Koss can claim he didn't know. He can't claim that. You see, Trooper Koss is a law enforcement officer. Don't you think a law enforcement officer has to know the law? Or he should have looked up the law? He had plenty of time to do this. He interviewed Bob Altman in the morning. Talked to him on the phone, Bob Altman. He didn't talk to Castellane yet because Castellane was still in the hospital for that fake fall you did. But he did talk to Trooper Koss. Now Trooper Koss said he even talked to investigators, so that would be detectives or something there with the state police. Someone should have told Trooper Koss, if he didn't know, that, hey, you know what? This thing is civil. You see, my case here was civil. It wasn't criminal. Because, you see, I didn't commit no crimes. They committed the crime. And if you commit a crime, and then you try to get somebody else to commit a crime, that's fruit of the poisonous tree, see? Now, of course, this is my opinion, but I think lawyers would agree that that's fruit of the poisonous tree. You can't commit a crime to entrap somebody to commit a crime. And this is what they did. I hope the judges can see this when they view this video, because it's in the appellate court now, and this video is plain. Some may, like I said, they may say that Koss didn't know, but you know what? That's not, he's supposed to be in law enforcement. He cannot work in law enforcement and not know the law. And if they don't know, they should ask. Now in the video, Koss provided that he spoke with detectives, or investigators he called them. That puts Koss and the detectives he spoke with in a bad light. you guys committed a crime. And it isn't the only Class A misdemeanor these police officers committed. They committed another one too on May 10th. Remember now, in the first video there, if you look at it its entirety, I told Koss that I was the caretaker and that I had the keys. And that I was caring for the Castle Lane pet dog who suffered from severe arthritis. But we need to take a couple of steps backwards here. This was something that Diane Button stated during the interview by Koss on March 12, 2022. Now remember, in the morning, Koss talked to Bob Altman, and Bob Altman said that the eviction was going to proceed. So in other words, it had not proceeded yet. So basically, let's take a step back right now to something Diane stated during the interview by Koss on March 12th. This is in the afternoon now. And it's found at timestamp 12:25 and 12:44. Koss had asked if my internet was controlled by the Castle Lane residents, in the Castle Lane residence. Diane Button pops up, this loud mouth who can't shut up. Bob said he just switched it because Daryl was doing stuff that he didn't like with it. That's a crime. Now Koss comes back, so me, lost internet, which was his excuse for being up here. Again, they admit they cut my internet. And Koss even acknowledges that I used to get internet from the Castle Lane residents. But you see, Koss doesn't know the law. He doesn't know that they can't disconnect my internet. I know he doesn't know it. But you see, he has no excuse because he should have found out beforehand. If he'd been taking proper notes, he would have found out that Altman told him they weren't, the proceedings hadn't begun yet, and on the eviction, and Diane Button tells Koss that they've begun, and including Richard Castling, they both tell Koss a barefaced lie. They said that they'd begun and I'd been served papers. I had not been served any papers. But they admit that they cut off my internet. When they cut off my internet, a Class A misdemeanor occurred in violation of Section 76828. You can't cut this any other way because Diane Button answered multiple times that they informed Koss multiple times that they cut off my internet. But they claimed at first that I lied when I said my internet was cut off. This is how corrupt these people are, including Koss. Now, Koss is and there's no doubt about it. It was a slow crime day, and Koss was trying to impress Richard Castling, the millionaire. He even came in, I like your house. Are you kidding, Koss? That was the filthiest, ugliest house I'd ever been in. It was filthy. There was crud all over the floors. It was a filthy, lousy house. It was constructed wrong. Had so many problems with it. Pipes freezing. I had to replace pipes every year freezing in this place because the insulation was bad. It was just terrible. Everything about this place. I like your house. You see, he was trying to kiss the millionaire's butt. As was the judge, the prosecutor. Maybe these guys were hoping that Castling was going to put some bucks into their funds coffers when they run for re-election. Donations. I don't know what their reasoning was. But even the town of Stockbridge wouldn't come to my defense knowing that this place was under code. They had no code, they did not have permission to install the ramp. All these different things that they did, and I'm going to get into that. You notice here in the video, there's two videos. There's the video by Castling, which shows me removing this ramp. Now notice this ramp stops in the middle of the woodpile. Castellane couldn't use this ramp if he wanted to. What these people did was just, it was just bad from the start. Every single one of these actors in this were just bad, corrupt people, liars and criminals. Every single person in this. From the judge to the prosecutor to Castellane and his witnesses, Diane, Norman Button, the cop, the other cops. He is the one who arrested me for the ramp, removing the ramp. Imagine this. You're protecting your people by removing this obstacle that was placed in the path of the apartment to get me to move, basically. They knew I was going to remove the obstacle because they placed a camera up there. It videoed me. Nowhere else on the property was there a camera except that one little spot, pointing right down to that ramp because they knew I was going to remove it. This is how corrupt these people are. And you know what? These idiot judges and the Superior Court judge, the Stockbridge Court judge, Michael McBride is the Superior Court judge. Daniel Vinyl is the Stockbridge City Court judge. These guys are buffoons. Michael McBride lies. He lied in his report. He told barefaced lies on me. He even accused me of manufacturing an email that was sent to Elizabeth Spaulding from Carla Fitzgerald on April 23rd. He accused me of forging that. He doubted that it was authentic. What a buffoon. They were trying to catch each other's back, see. But now I'm in the federal courts. Now we're going to see what the federal courts do with this. Because I don't think that these videos were made part of the district court, although I can remember sending flash drives and stuff, all kinds of stuff to the courts. I don't know that that those videos followed on. But if these judges didn't watch the video, they never came to the conclusion. All they did was look at the paperwork that Koss put in. Oh yeah, he's got the signature of the homeowner that says that Daryl didn't have permission. Boom, let's throw him for criminal trespass, which is a joke. There's more needed than just the homeowner's or the residence owner's word. And Koss had it. He had the proof that I had permission. My goodness, Koss, when we were leaving, going down to the station, Koss even thanked me for plowing the road. I plowed the road with Castellane's equipment. Why didn't they get me for unlawful use of a motor vehicle if I didn't have permission? You see, these people are corrupt. They are. They really are. They're corrupt. And they only see, they have this tunnel vision. They get on this kick of, well, this guy didn't have permission. Castellane said he didn't have permission, so he didn't have it. Yet when he asked Castellane if he ever told me that I didn't have permission to enter his residence, Castellane never answered him. He just said, oh, he knew. The lawyers told him, which was a barefaced lie because the lawyers didn't tell me. So all these things transpired here, and the courts don't care. The lower courts just didn't care. They kept looking at that sworn statement from Castellane, which was perjury, and the sworn statement of the ramp. Castellane made a sworn statement of the ramp that he needed the ramp to exit and enter his house, which was a barefaced lie. Castellane hadn't used that ramp in the videos for 3 years, over 3 years. He hadn't used that ramp. It was too steep for his wheelchair, for him to get out. Even the fire department wouldn't take him out that way. They took him out the front of his house, which didn't even have a video. Anyways, that's about it. And you know, I don't know if you people can understand this or what, but this is what happened. This is the events, and there's more. But thanks for watching this video, and have a good day.
No, in fact, he has no permission to enter the house. Richard's trying to get him evicted, so that was all going to start pretty soon.
Okay, so who's the actual? Is Richard the owner of? He told me. So how did he get a key for the place? You don't know.
He has been helping out, and he has been the caretaker for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But they're in the process of doing an eviction,
Right.
and he's been served paperwork, and he's
Okay, we have video of all this. He took the camera with him and kept it for 2 hours and then returned it.
Yep.
And then 2 different times he played around with a modem, which is over near the computer.
Yep.
Inspecting the modem because we had a new modem installed this week because he had been controlling the modem.
Yeah.
Still criminal trespass, as far as the charge goes. Okay. Right. I don't know what he's gonna. He was kind of making it sound like to me this morning that this was normal for him to come up here and look after your stuff, feed your dog, reset the router because the router's. Does the router work for the whole place?
Does his internet, does Daryl's internet work off
now.
of?
Bob said that he just switched it because Daryl was doing stuff with it that he didn't like, so they.
Hi, this is Daryl Wildberg again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a little trip here to show you how things are at my driveway here. So follow me, come on forward. Just your driveway here. This is how you come to my house from where I live. This is how you come right through here. Come on. You have to walk right through here. And then you have to go down those stairs there. Just down over here to the stairs. There you go. Now if you want to back up a little bit. This is the board that was laying this board was laying here. Can you see this here, what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. It was tied up there. Screws. Now. This is the board that I removed. You can see it's about 9 inches high there. 9 to 11 inches high. Can you imagine somebody at night coming through here? That's my apartment right through there. So, this is the board that he threw. Now you know he threw this in there just to interfere with my path here. So you can see, this is what I moved. This is why it would have happened. This is why they took me in. Come on down. Finish this path. This is my path right through here. Come on up. Thanks for watching. JEHOVAH.